Solving rational equations. A rational equation is an equation that contains one or more fractions. So in the example, you see 10 all over x times x minus 2 plus some other stuff. It has a fraction in it, so it's an equation that's a rational equation. And while adding and subtracting rational expressions from the previous learning target can be a royal pain, solving rational equations is much easier. Now, that isn't to say that it is easy, just much easier. And the reason why that is because of the fact that there is an equal sign. And the equal sign is a very powerful tool. So the key idea is that if we have a rational equation and every single fraction has the same denominator, then we can essentially ignore the denominator and just look at the numerators. So as a demonstration, we see 10 all over x times x minus 2 plus 4 times x minus 2 all over x times x minus 2 equals to 5 times x all over x minus 2 times x. So if you'll note, the denominator in all three fractions, which I'll highlight in green, are identical. As a result, because of the green part in each fraction is identical, we can essentially ignore the denominator and only look at the numerator portions. So in the work that you're seeing, I essentially pretend like the green part isn't there, and I just take the blue parts, and then we would solve for x. As a side note, we do need to state where x is not defined, and so what this means is we need to ask ourselves, what values of x give us 0 in the bottom? Well, because we have x times x minus 2, the x minus 2 part is straightforward, right? X cannot be positive 2, because if I plug in positive 2, then I'll have 2 minus 2, which is 0. The one that people forget about is also, since I have x by itself, this means that if I have x equals to 0, that will give me 0 times whatever's inside the parentheses, which is equal to 0, and we can't have that. So when it comes to solving rational equations, first what we want to do is we want to factor every denominator completely, so that way we can then multiply the fractions so that all the denominators are identical. Once that's done, we can ignore the denominator part and then solve for x. However, the caveat is that we do have to check for extraneous solutions, which are solutions that happen when the math is done correctly, but it contradicts with us having a denominator of 0, because you can't divide by 0. So, exercise 1a. Notice that the first term is not a fraction, and so when it comes to the problems like this where not every term is a fraction, we will simply turn it into a fraction by dividing by 1. And at this point, I will rewrite the problem with some space, lots and lots of space, just in case we do need to multiply by anything that is missing. So all I did was rewrote the problem. Now if you take a look at the denominators, we have 1s and we have x's. So what's happening for this problem is the first fraction is missing an x. And so we will multiply the first fraction by x over x. And then the third fraction is also missing an x. So we'll multiply both the bottom and the top by x. And then we don't need to multiply the second fraction by anything. So from here, what we'll do is we will multiply just the numerators. Just like the previous lesson, you don't need to actually multiply the denominators out because we're going to ignore them anyways. So the first fraction turns into x squared all over x times 1. The second fraction we didn't have to do anything with. And then the third fraction turns into 3x over x times 1. And now that the denominators are all identical, we can ignore the denominators. And so just writing the numerators gives us x squared minus 18 equals to 3x. And at this point, by subtracting 3x from both sides, we have x squared minus 3x minus 18 equals to 0. And now that we have a trinomial, we can use the box method. And I'm going to skip the work for the box method, but we do use the box method to factor this, which turns into x minus 6 and x plus 3 equals to 0. And so this gives us x equals to 6 and x equals to negative 3. However, we aren't done yet because we need to check for any contradictions, right? Contradictions means what values of x is x not allowed to be equal to. And so taking a look at the original problem, because of the x in the bottom, we can see that x, this right here, means that x cannot be equal to 0. Because if x was equal to 0, we would have division by 0. And so looking at our answers again, 6 and negative 3 are both valid answers. So we will take those. With that in mind, go ahead and try exercise B on your own. Okay, so I will write out the problem with some space in front of all the fractions, just in case I need to multiply by anything. And just like the previous problem, the first fraction is missing a 4 in the denominator. Right, so I'll write 4 times 4 over 4. And then the second fraction is missing an x. And so we need to multiply the second fraction by x over x. Not only that, but the third fraction is also missing an x. So we'll multiply the third fraction by x over x. And so note that all 4 denominators are now 4x. Now, simplifying by multiplying, the first expression turns into 24 over 4x. The second fraction turns into 5x over 4x. And the third fraction turns into negative 7x over 4x. Now that all the denominators are the same, we can ignore them and just look at the numerator portions. So 24 plus 5x equals to negative 7x. Subtracting 5x from both sides gives us 24 equals to negative 12x. And then dividing both sides by negative 12 gives us negative 2 equals to x. Now, what is x not allowed to be equal to? Well, this x right here means that x cannot be equal to 0. And since our only answer was negative 2, which is definitely not the same thing as 0, we're good to go. Ooh, let me just redraw my box so you can see the negative sign. Okay, moving on. Occasionally, we will have a problem where the denominators are actually all identical. So in this case, because the denominators are already the same, right, x minus 2 in the first fraction and x minus 2 in the second, we'll ignore that, which gives us 5x equals to 3x plus 4. Subtracting 3x from both sides gives us 2x equals to 4. And then dividing both sides by 2 gives us x equals to 2. However, if we take a look at the original problem, look at that x minus 2 part. The way that we will show our work is we're going to say x minus 2 cannot be equal to 0. And if I add 2 to both sides, this means x cannot be equal to 2. Because again, if I plug in 2, then 2 minus 2 gives us 0, and then we're all of a sudden dividing by 0, which we can't have. Now the issue here is that our only answer that we came up with was 2, but we can see in red that x cannot be equal to 2. What does that mean for this problem? Well, it means that there is no solution, because the only answer that we came up with is actually an extraneous solution. And so this is what I meant when I said you do have to check your answers. Okay, go ahead and try part B on your own. Well, for part B, we have 7s in the bottom of both fractions, so we can ignore it and give us x minus 3 equals to 4x plus 12. Subtracting x from both sides gives us negative 3 equals to 3x plus 12. Subtract 12 from both sides to give us negative 15 equals to 3x, and then divide both sides by 3, giving us negative 5 equals to x. Now, in this case, you might be tempted to say that x cannot be equal to, say, 7. However, just like in the past when we talked about solving, there is no x here. No x to solve for in denominator. So in this case, x can be anything. And so because of that, there is no restriction, and so our answer of negative 5 is valid. Remember that you can only take expressions in the denominator that have x's in them to then solve, or in this case, not solve for x. Okay, last set of problems are a little more complicated, but not too bad. First things first, I'll write the problem down with some more space in front of the fractions, so that way I can rewrite as needed. So we can see that the first fraction is missing a 2, and so I need to multiply the first fraction by 2 over 2. The second fraction is missing an x minus 8, and so we need to multiply the second fraction by x minus 8 over x minus 8. And then the third fraction is missing a 2, and so we'll multiply the third fraction by 2 over 2. And now that all the denominators are the same, let's go ahead and distribute. The first fraction turns into 4x minus 10 all over 2 times x minus 8. The second fraction turns into x squared minus 8x all over 2 times x minus 8. And then this equals to 22 all over 2 times x minus 8. And since the denominators are all the same, we can ignore them, which gives us 4x minus 10 plus 8x squared, x squared minus 8x equals to 22. From here, I'll go ahead and combine like terms on the left-hand side. So we have x squared minus 4x minus 10 equals to 22. And then subtracting 22 from both sides gives us x squared minus 4x minus 32 equals to 0. If you do the box method correctly, this will turn into x minus 8 and x plus 4 equals to 0, which gives us solutions of x equals to 8 and x equals to negative 4. Now, going back to the original problem in factored form, notice that we have x minus 8, and so we need to set that not equal to 0, which means x cannot be equal to 8. And so this contradicts one of our solutions. It contradicts our solution of x equals to 8, and so we ignore that, and then we only look at the negative 4 as our answer. Okay. Let's go ahead and do the next one together. It is technically the most difficult question, but it is the most common type of question that you can expect to see on assessments. So first thing that I'm going to do, instead of rewriting the problem, is I'll take a look at this trinomial right here. As it turns out, we can factor it. And so if we factor it, this will give us p plus 4 and p minus 2. Using the box method. And now what I'll do is I'll rewrite the problem. So we have 1 over p minus 2 equals to 2p plus 1 all over p plus 4 times p minus 2 plus 2 over p plus 4. So again, first step was to factor the denominators, and then second step is to then write the problem out with space in front of the fractions, so that way we have room to multiply by what's missing. Now, what does the first fraction have? Well, it has a p minus 2, but it's missing a p plus 4. So we multiply the first fraction by p plus 4 over p plus 4. The second fraction has a p plus 4 and a p minus 2, and it's not missing any denominator terms. Now the third fraction, let me highlight the p plus 4 in green. Now the third fraction seems to be missing a p minus 2. And so we need to multiply the third fraction by p minus 2 over p minus 2. And now that all the denominators are the same, we will be able to ignore them later. But first, let's distribute. So the first fraction is going to be p plus 4 all over. Don't forget, we don't actually need to multiply the denominators. That's just creating more work. The second fraction is 2p plus 1 over p plus 4 and p minus 2. And then the third fraction is 2p minus 4 over p minus 2 and p plus 4. And now let's go ahead and ignore the denominators, which gives us p plus 4 equals to 2p plus 1 plus 2p minus 4. Combining like terms gives us p plus 4 equals to 4p minus 3. And then we'll subtract p from both sides, giving us 4 equals to 3p minus 3. And then add 3 to both sides, which gives us 7 equals to 3p. And then divide both sides by 3, which gives us p equals to 7 over 3. And while it does look weird, there is nothing wrong with a fractional answer. Now before we're done, let's go ahead and state what can't be defined. First, we can work with the p minus 2. So p minus 2 cannot be equal to 0, which gives us p equals to 2. And then secondly, the p plus 4 means p plus 4. Oh, that's weird. P plus 4 cannot be equal to 0, which means p cannot be equal to negative 4. However, in this case, our answer of 7 over 3 does not contradict what I wrote in red. And so we will circle that answer, and then we are done.